Hi, this is CF Liu here again, and this is the part 2 of how to solve your negative or stagnant or decreasing rental income from property investment. Now, I've shown you what I mean by this diminishing return chart in property investing. Diminishing return meaning that your rental income up to a point where you face external competition, you would not be able to still enjoy the perpetual increase of rental income. In fact, you will have a decreasing rental income, and when that happens, it's likely you will still have a mortgage loan to pay. And then with a decreasing rental income, that is going to even decrease your profit margin. And if you are just break even in terms of your rental income versus your loan repayment, and that taking into consideration the maintenance expenses as well, that might actually throw you in a severely negative cash flow kind of situation when it comes to property investing. And this has nothing to do with you. If you don't, it has nothing to do with you, because it's not because you overlook anything. It's not because you don't do your homework. It's not because you are stupid, dumb, or not smart enough. It's not because you do not buy a so-called grade A property, because gurus always want to say, they say that I only recommend grade A property. But is a grade A kind of property is always a grade A kind of property? Well, it's unlikely, because it doesn't always stay that way, because there are a lot of things that you cannot control. Okay, the money is made. Yes, the money is made. I agree, money is made when you buy, but money can be lost also when you sell, and due to a lot of external factor that you cannot control. And so it circle back to the point that why I say that even though you have bought the most perfect property in the market at the point of time of purchase, the guru say it's a grade A property, that is still not 100% guarantee, because over time your mortgage runs for 20-30 years. Okay, if you can pay it back, settle it earlier, better. All right, but there is not a guarantee. Even with that, you could have a decreasing rental income. And ironically, when you want to sell the property after 10-20 years, this is a few things that people overlook. And what I want to share with you today is this, right? This is what I have for you. Now, in this chart, right, I'm going to share with you like what is this. So you know that in any property investing, what you really want to look at is your during the time when you are still holding this property, whether or not this is a good investment or not. For property, is always about net rental yield. So this is your perspective, right? Now, the perspective of your net rental yield has always been this. Net rental yield, the way you look at it, is your net rental equals to your net rentals in terms of this one, in terms of yearly, divided by your purchase price. Okay, so let's just assume your net rental is a factor of what? It is a factor of your gross rental, which is more or less also affected by the market rate and how well you renovate your unit and all that. So your gross rental minus deduct off what I call as the loan repayment. Yes, loan repayment. Okay, loan repayment. Also, we have to deduct off the so-called maintenance costs. Okay, and the maintenance cost could be what we call as a regular, like our maintenance fee, or it could be something that is ad hoc maintenance cost, right? And then you actually take this entire thing and you actually divide by your purchase price. So how is this investment will get better is in a sense that, because what are the so-called the constant over here? So your purchase, all right, hold on. So see if I could actually, so what you know that your purchase price actually does not change. So if your gross rental over here you are able to increase that, meaning that your net rental would increase. So an investment that gives you higher and higher dividend or net rental every year, that is good. So your gross rental will highly depend on that, but we have already know that why your gross rental is affected by the market and is affected by what is happening around you. Your property, there is a newer, sexier project came out. That kind of new property in 10 years time then command an increasing rental. Yours would not be able to because it is an old property. So this is uncertain, and if that happens, your net rental actually goes down instead of go up. Every other thing being the same. But the other uncertainty, of course, is about interest rate. So if you are taking, most people are taking flexible floating rate of loan. If your interest rate actually goes up, your loan repayment actually goes up. So when your loan repayment goes up, you reduce your net rental, even though with this being the same. Okay, so there's also a second level of risk that you cannot control. How about maintenance costs? As you know, people thought that at the time of entry, all this stay the same. It never stay the same. Maybe it stay the same in the first 2-3 years, but in 10 years, a lot of things are going to change. For example, if you say that your maintenance cost, your regular maintenance cost, the maintenance fee that you pay every month, it could likely be increasing as well. And how about ad hoc maintenance fee, the one that you need to fix, you know, your broken furniture, your broken electrical appliances? These are all costs that eats onto your gross rental. And when this whole equation actually this whole amount, your net rental actually goes down, your net rental yield also goes down. And again, this is very likely to happen. The ad hoc maintenance costs, when your property are getting old, your regular maintenance costs, they are going to increase their maintenance expenses, right? And your loan repayment is something, of course, it could go up, it could go down. So in the best case scenario, I think it's just everything balance out each other. This one you are able to increase, and then this one increase, but this one doesn't increase on all that. But again, the likelihood, I'm more leaning against the likelihood that your net rental will actually decrease rather than increase in a mid to long term. Okay, even though after 10 years or whatnot, you're supposed to own more equity in the property because you have paid that for some time, you clear the principal, then the property is closer to being belongs to you. But you have to contend with all this, right? So some people would have say that, okay, if I have a problem like this, whereby my net rental has been stagnant, has been decreasing, so I would actually want to sell this property off, right? Okay, and then when I sell it, that should be fine, right? I get a big lump sum kind of profit and all that. Well, let me tell you, it is not as straightforward or as simple as most people thought, because here's the thing. Now, this is what you are seeing, right? This is you. What about a net rental yield that is seen, from a buyer standpoint? So imagine you want to sell this, right? There must be a buyer who want to buy this from you. So from a buyer standpoint, you know, from a buyer standpoint is also what they look at, this rental, net rental. All right. And then they also look at purchase price. But instead of your purchase price, it is their purchase price, the price they want to purchase from you. So for example, if you have a net rental, let's say of 60,000 per year, okay, just imagine this, okay, 60,000 per year, and your property it's actually at 500K. That is what you bought the property for, 500K. Or even let's just lowball this a bit and see how much percentage that is going to be. Okay, I'm going to pull up my calculator to say 60 divided by 500K, which is 12%, which is really not bad, but that is really not that possible, because even if you rent it 2,000, you have to pay a loan and all that. So net rental yield, I would say that even if you can get at 1,000 of positive cash flow per month, we are talking about 12 months. And if you bought it at 500,000, the net rental would only be 2.4%, right? 2.4%, and I have not yet factored in all the maintenance costs and all that. So just assume this is what you have, 2.4%, right? So 2.4% is your purchase price, which does not change. But as a, you know, as a buyer, your buyer, they want to buy a property. So in 10 years or 15 years time, okay, the purchase price, if I want to invest, I want to buy from you your property, and you say that this property, the price has increased after 10 years, and now it costs 1 million. Okay, 1 million. And what's going to happen is, if I were to actually take a 1 million loan out of this property that I want to buy for investment, so what's going to happen is that, let's say we borrow, we actually use this something from Loan Street, and we say home loan calculator over here. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have this, this loan calculator, and of 1 million, and my margin financing is 90%. If I were to say 25 years, and the interest rate 10 years, 20 years from now is still like that, so I would be expecting to actually buy, or even if I'm going to take 30 years, let's say, imagine I'm buying this at, you know, so my loan monthly installment is 4,500. So what's going to happen is this 4,500 and 4,500, all right, 4,500, and imagine I have to minus off of 4,500, which is 4,512. So my loan installment per year is already at 54K. So even ignoring the maintenance cost, how much do you think I need to rent this for? How much? Let's say I could rent it for 6,000. Okay, 6,000, which is equivalent to 72,000 per year. Okay, 72,000 per year, and because I need to pay the installment and all that, which costs around 4,500 on a yearly basis, is 54,000. So 72,000 is my gross rental. All right. So how much is 72 minus 54? So I have like 18,000 per year over 1 million. So what you have is 60,000, right? You know, like 60,000 or whatnot. So, but because the price has already come to 1 million. So if I were to invest, I were to buy for you, I would have made a calculation to say, if I have 18,000 a year of net rental divided by 1 million, that is only 1.8% of yield, okay, per year. And I'm not stupid, right? And I look at that, and that is 1.8% is probably too low. It's probably too low. Even you at 2.4%, even you at a better than me, right? 2.4%, because your purchase price was lower. But if you in 10-20 years time, so imagine I could actually rent it out at 6,000. However, because I take a higher amount of loan, so my yearly installment repay the loan is higher, 54,000. So I'm just left with 1.8% of net rental yield per year. And if you minus off all the maintenance fees and all that, it could be left with 1.5 or slightly more than 1%. So to get that 1% every year, is it really worth the hassle? So as a buyer, as someone who want to buy from you in 10 years, 20 years time, I would have this, I would be very hesitant to actually do this, because again, buyers are not stupid, okay? And you know that your property is an old property, all right? And I've said in part one, an old property cannot, even with an increased rental, an old property cannot easily command an increased rental, a market rental rate compared to a new property that is being built in the future, right? An old property cannot command. So with that being said, when I do this example for you, that is already considered a very lenient, a very what we call as a highball kind of example, because property value increase or valuation increase, that is already given, that is quite sure. But the fact is the old property cannot command that kind of higher rental. So in that sense, even if you were to want to sell your property at the price you desire in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years time, it's likely you would not be able to sell that at the price that you want. Okay, now imagine if that is not your concern, you just want to let go of that property. Maybe you want to only sell that at 800,000, okay, and undercut all other sellers in the market. Just imagine that, okay? You don't mind, you just want to let go of this property, and you don't mind actually earning 200,000 less, even though the asking price for a similar unit is 1 million 10, 20, 15 years from now. So what happened is, even if you buy it at 800,000, and you know that a property, they always have this kind of what we call as a target market, and because let's say in the future, a property of your old property, right, which if most of the case compared to a newer property, it would be probably not as big, not as sexy, and it's an old property. And then you say that probably I can actually sell it to a market, not people who really want a high-end property. I sell it because your property is old, so you want to sell it to people who just maybe started working, right? And with not so much of can afford a higher price property. So maybe people who start working want to look for more affordable property, and people without kids and all that, they want to sell it to people who are actually relatively younger and all that at that point of time. Now this what you think seems to be valid, but at this point of time, what we have really, the real case is, I have clients that have properties, right? I have clients that have property, real estate property that have been for 10 years, and he bought that at maybe 100,000, less than 200,000, right? So maybe I want to draw this for you, and you see, so probably bought that at say in 2008, right? 2008, and now it's 2019. Okay, just 10 years, right? And let's say I bought it at 200,000, which is quite expensive at this point of time. But here, it will be, let's say 500,000, right? So he asking price, so he can actually sell that at this. But this property at this point of time, this property is only, for example, 800 square feet, right? And it is a 10 years old property. You have to understand that 10 years old property. So who can actually afford, who are looking for this? Now I imagine this is not something that you want to sell for a family of an established family, because they probably are looking, let's say established family want to upgrade, they are probably looking for a semi-D and whatnot that costs 1 million or so because of earning power. So people as of 2019, the one that can afford this kind of property is probably graduates, okay, fresh working professional. So this is the one, because he said my property is mass market property, I can sell it, my target market is this, sell. But what I can tell you is the way that a lot of people think, the people who are older, so some of my clients who buy this property, so they are they are like 40, 50 plus, They thought this is of course the prudent way to go. So if you are a fresh grad 20 years old, you don't want to rent, you want to buy your first property, to settle down or as soon as possible, you should buy a lower price property, right? But the thinking for what we call as a we call it Gen Y or Gen Z is different. They would rather not buy this property because why? If they cannot afford it, these two things they would do. If they cannot afford a 1 million property, they would not even buy a 500,000 kind of property. Why? Because it is an old property and it's too small, 800 square feet, and it's already 10 years old. It does not have that kind of status. Imagine you buy an old property and it's not something that you are very proud to actually tell your friends and all that, right? Although it's a financially prudent thing to do, but the new generation I'm talking about, Gen Y, Z, or even whatever generation, millennial, what that, if they really find it hard to afford this, they would actually not even buy that and choose to live with their parents. That's number one. And if their parents have the financial ability to support them, they will actually ask their parents to support them to buy a 1 million property and all that. All right, they will actually ask that, right, with their financial. So that's why you see a lot of people who are in just new, they are working for 2-3 years, technically they cannot afford a 1 million house and to get married, but you know that they can afford because they would be so-called a pharma support, right? You know what I mean? Pharma, father, mother support. So they will go through that path. What if they do not have pharma support, financial support? They would rather use the money and actually do business, or even at this point of time it's very do like loan compression if you are not familiar with it, meaning that to cash out and do some fancy tactic, to actually this apply a lot of from the same at the same time apply a lot of loans from bank, do this a cash rebate, no money down and cash out a cash rebate 100,000 and then roll that in, so that because they want it to be fast, they want to get rich quick. I'm not saying that is a good thing to do. I'm just saying the reality is people who have financial support from their father and mother, they would actually buy a 1 million property with their financial support. If they really cannot afford that on their own, for for the target market, if you really are targeting this market because your property is old and is relatively lower, is relatively affordable, know that your target market do not want, they need what you have, but they just do not want that, because they want, what they want is a new property. Get father mother support to get that. If they can't, they're going to find ways so that they can grow their money as fast as possible, rather than settle for something which is only like 800 square feet or even a 10 years old property, because that is not most what people will do. So how does that help? How does it relate to you as a seller? If you I mean, I'm just talking about the reality of things over now, but the same thing, believe me, is going to happen 10 years down the road when you are the one that own an old property of 10 years or so and you want to sell it. All right, if you want to sell to a very experienced property investor, they are going to do this calculation, and it's likely this calculation is not going to make sense because the return in terms of the yield is too low on a per annum basis, so you will find it hard to sell. However, if you say that, oh, maybe I just want to sell to people who really need a property. After all, my property, real estate property, is a mass market property. There should be, a working professional who are new in the workforce or fresh graduate that is just working, who want to buy my property because this is something they can afford. I'm saying that you have overlooked some of the things I just talked about on how this new generation of young people think and act and do. Okay, and this is going to be the same in the future. So with that being said, I hope that gives you a very good perspective, okay, on what is the reality over here. We have seen so many cases already. So back to my the lesson of this, how to resolve your negative, your negative or stagnant or decreasing rental income property investment. Now, obviously, if you have been a property investor for quite some years and you feel this your problem and you already have a property portfolio, some of them pay off, some of them not pay off, the way to actually still can sustain this cash flow game. What I mean is, let me write this down. So I want to emphasize this. It doesn't really matter what is the value of your property. And I see a lot of property gurus say they have like multi-million property. Well, what is a property value worth if it does not generate enough cash flow to sustain your expenses? It means nothing. So cash flow trumps all matters. So if you already have a portfolio of property, you already have a good good capital gain out of your property, but the cash flow from your rental income is decreasing or stagnant, that is where you want to actually, it's time for you. You have reached to a stage that where property investing and management is no longer your game. You should shift. It's like us. As we go through life, at every different age and life stages, we have different needs and we care about different things. We see what's important and all that. And the market also changes. So we cannot let this property portfolio of you dragging you down if that's what you feel, because you cannot want to it's not rational to adapt to your property portfolio. Your investment portfolio should adapt to you, and you on the other hand should adapt to what the market of the world is moving. I could go on more on why people will be less and less, the new generation will be less and less inclined to actually buy new property, buy a more expensive property and all that, because that just tie them down, and a lot of people don't like this feeling. But I digress. Let's talk about this cash flow. So this cash flow, if your property is already not generating sufficient or good cash flow for you, that is where, very simply, okay, if you don't have this problem, you can actually skip this lesson right now. But if you are watching until right here, I highly suggest that you actually go to what is shown over here in the below, reitmethod.com, REIT.method.com. That is your only way out if you exactly have this problem that I've just said about, the diminishing return chart I've just shared with you, and you want to solve your negative, stagnant and decreasing rental income from investment property. The REIT method, I'm conducting, every week. I'm adding value to people who are in the same kind of situation, whereby I help them actually restructure. Okay, restructure meaning that you already have a good capital gain from your property portfolio. Your rental is decreasing or stagnant. That is the time, that is the trigger point to actually restructure that, and park that into, restructure that into still a property exposed investment portfolio, but it will give you more consistent, and it will give you more stable and even increasing cash flow over time coming from there. Because REIT is property, yes, but it's commercial property, and this is a entire different ball game, which I can only share with you in the upcoming web class or webinar that I conduct almost every week. So you want to go in the description below or whatever, click on the link there, and go to REIT method. Okay, go to REITmethod.com or click on the link below and just register yourself for an upcoming web class whereby how this could actually help you. And we have a lot of testimonial for clients who already achieved that. So if you really are still, you are still stubborn and you think this is not the one for me, I mean, that is fine. And I hope, with Pathways, this value has added a lot of value to you. But okay, this is the reality. If without you participating, this is what other people are already way ahead of you. All right, so it's not about me thinking it's right or wrong for you, but this is the reality. And you don't want to be the last one to actually wake up and say that, whoa, I'm too late. So that being said, I'm CF Liu from CF Liu channel. If you are looking at this on YouTube, just click on lower right and click on subscribe. Click like if you feel this has been useful. And if you see that on other platform, or my web or anything, and Facebook, just follow us. Subscribe, hit on the notification bell so you get notified when I publish more lessons like this. And let me know what you think. Comments below. Find this useful, I would appreciate a thank you. Just type in the comments below or click on like. That being said, I'll see you in the next lesson, and you have a good week ahead.